Hello everyone, welcome to Decked. It's the show where we play games for your amusement. My name is Tyler, and with me in the studio today is Ray.
Hey Tyler, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
And in addition to the two of us in the studio, we have a newcomer in the field, Lee, who's joining us through the internet. Hi, Lee.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm not too bad.
Thanks for joining us.
Way to be in the internet, apparently, from the way Tyler put that.
Yay, the powers of the internet.
Yes.
They're wonderful. So today we are commenting on a game of Call of Cthulhu that was played a couple weeks back at Brap's Magic here in Burlington, Vermont. On our right, we have Carlo, who's playing a deck called Project Mill, and that's kind of a giveaway what it's going to do. And by right, I mean left.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you mix up your right and your left?
Because on the right is Ray, who's playing his deck.
Yes, I'm playing my mono Hastur deck. I have to point out at this point in time that I absolutely positively love Carlo's game map. It is spectacular.
It's gorgeous.
It is. It looks really great on video too.
Yeah, I kind of spiced up the colors for it just a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Truer tones. I can see my pink Cthulhus are very pink right now too. So.
So we're in the middle of setup right now. Everybody's throwing down resource cards. Carlo is playing a Yogg-Sothoth and Shub-Niggurath mill deck, which is kind of nasty. And as other folks have pointed out on the internet, it's important to choose the first player before you do all the things that these players have already done. We've learned that now. And they're just figuring out. I believe Carlo's going to go first in this, from my recollection.
I believe Carlo goes first as well. And based on the fact that he's actually doing stuff, I'm going to go with yes, he's going first. Now, right here, what I'm thinking is, I know what his deck does.
Yep. And he just threw down a Faceless Abductor, which is great for shuffling away someone's character.
And I'm going to go on a crazy kind of control spree here in a second. So there's San Servolo, which is nobody around here plays Hastur, so everybody has to read my cards every time I play them. So there's San Servolo, which is making it night, and if a character would go insane, I can exhaust it to make the controller of that character drive another character insane unless they pay 1.
So it's sort of an insanity tax.
It is an insanity tax.
And have you got much that triggers off the night aspect, or is it mainly there just for the insanity?
I was in there for the night as well. Actually, I think it's more there for the night than the insanity. For a couple cards, like at night they roam, so that I can get control of more cards. The Cavern of Flame just went down, which is a Dreamland support card from the Dreamland cycle. It reads, if I control more Dreamland support cards than any other player, then it gains the ability to exhaust it to choose a non-dreamer character and remove it from a story it's been committed to, and restore it. Or not restore it, but ready it. And then a Long Dead Prince, which is a little bit of combat in Hastur, which never happens. And if he's injured, if he's got a wound on him, he's got toughness +1, I have an action where I can return him to my hand.
Mm-hmm. And that was just recently Card Game DB's Card of the Day.
Yeah, I noticed.
And we had some interesting discussion about that, where people sort of figured it fit in there where they might use it. I wish it was a disrupt instead of an action, personally. So Carlos just played the Baleful Reveler, which is benefiting from San Servolo making it night. And then we have the Hermetic Scholar, who, when he enters play, will cause the other player to mill 3 cards.
Each player.
4 cards.
Each?
He's each player 4 cards, yeah.
Oh.
He's good for when you want to try and have your own cards in the discard for various shenanigans as well. So.
Yeah. Good call. I guess I was confusing him with What's the Matter You, which may show up later.
Yes, what's the matter? Poor Lee. He's got to listen to all of our crazy nicknames for the cards.
And without the cultural background.
Yes.
Sorry, Lee. So he's immediately jumping in with the Hermetic Scholar.
Yes, I'm not quite being able to see on the video here what the Hermetic Scholar's icons are.
Why, I could tell you, it's Skull Book.
Yeah, and that explains why I didn't go after that.
I think it was a good choice.
But for some reason forgot the flame.
Yeah, and for some reason forgot the flame. That's definitely that's me being stupid. Honestly, Carlo plays at a much different pace than what I'm used to. He's very frantic and very kind of hectic as he's sitting there, so it kind of threw me off my game, and I know I missed some stuff at the beginning of this game because of that.
Those bursts of speed.
Yeah, those little bursts of speed, and it's just like, it's almost like a nervous tick sometimes, but so here we've got the 70 steps, which if you control no 1 story cards, makes your characters come into play exhausted, and it's also a Dreamland support card.
And so you're sort of banking on always having more Dreamland support?
I am banking on always having more Dreamland support, and the fact that that's just a really good tempo control card.
Yep.
For a Hastur deck, because Hastur is not known for its speed.
Right.
Well, also because like between that and the Cavern of Flame, it can really put dampeners on what your opponent's trying to do because they're both Dreamlands as well. So
Exactly.
So he's thinking. What is he thinking? He could be thinking anything.
He's thinking everything. But you can see how he's just like bouncing slightly. Like, and it's like an excitement about playing, and it really throws me off.
Mm-hmm. When I play against Carlo, I find he has like a mission in his head. Like this is what I want to see in my hand right now.
Right.
And when it's firing, he's happy. I think we're all happy when that's firing.
Yes, I think we all are.
I generally find like when I'm trying to build a deck, there's one key thing I want to do. So you often want that to be what you're trying to achieve. So I imagine for him, he's going with where are my right mill pieces so I can get started and go.
Right, exactly. And exactly.
That was very profound, Tyler.
Yeah, sorry. I was distracted by the gorgeousness of his playmat again. I think what I was trying to say was, so Lee, when you're playing, or are you describing that you have a specific goal and you just want to hit that particular combination of cards or interactions within a game, or you feel like the game is going your way?
I generally try and work towards the goal of the deck. Like recently, after one of your previous videos, after seeing all the arcane being done by Ray's deck, I was like, I can use bits of that, and I built a deck wanting to use lots of arcane, but I also went for things such as Eltdown Shah to try and discard the hand whilst drawing me from Tire of Time and so forth. So just really focusing on one key area.
Mm-hmm. Ray is now beaming with pride.
Yes, Ray is beaming with pride. I love the fact that somebody was like, hey, that deck had some pretty cool ideas to it. I'm going to purge some of those into my own ideas. Mm-hmm. Hey, I remembered how to use the Cavern of Flame.
You did.
Yay!
And just to point out, you also remembered to call Carlo and Savio and make sure he was exhausted.
Yes.
Savio is the bane of so many things, but right now he doesn't have his immunity for lack of a conspiracy.
Correct. But he does have the extra bonuses for being knight because Sansevolo is making
it. Sadly, Sansevolo is not working for you at this stage, is it?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, I find that's the problem with day-night cards a lot of times is that it's either just a constant struggle of day-night that's distracting from the rest of the game, or it's just helping your opponent because it's making it whatever time of day they wanted it to be anyways.
Yeah. Although I feel like you can generally bank on someone wanting it to be night much more often than day.
Yes, this is very true.
I think the agency's ability to make it day and profit from it is generally much safer than playing for night.
At the same time, it's also much faster for day cards to get destroyed because night's so much more prevalent.
Yeah, there's a lot more back and forth.
But you almost want to play day cards just to get rid of Savio. Jeez, I hate that card.
Yeah. And that's a card where I play Savio enough that I understand the pain, but I also know the joy.
Yeah.
Been on both sides of it.
Yeah. I can't complain because I get to benefit, but when he shows up on the other guy's side, it's like, okay, that's what we're doing.
I did in the draft we had, I got Savio. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the main reasons I won that draft.
You had a very excellent selection of characters there, and I'll just point out that when Shukomishitu, whom we sometimes call Wasamata Yu, has hit the table, and there's an interesting interaction I think we'll get to see where when that card leaves play, it causes a mill effect, and it's going to be a non-standard use of him, I think. Yes,
I just played the deranged Diva, who is coming into play exhausted because of the 70 steps, and she is a artist lunatic. That's right, I'm trying to play with lunatics. And I can drive her insane to choose a player, and that player must choose one character they control to go insane if able.
And do you think that Diva will ever be ready over the course of this game?
No. That was actually one of the things I really enjoyed when I was building this deck, is I realized that she doesn't have to be ready to go insane. I can drive her insane when she's exhausted.
Mm-hmm. But for now, you're sticking.
Yeah. Mainly because he would just restore whatever it was on his turn. So
So this is the interaction I was mentioning earlier. Carlo has just used Faceless Abductor to put When Shukamishi 2 back into his hand, triggering its mill effect. But Ray's considering options.
Ray is considering options. Because Ray is sitting on a Holly's directive. I can pretty much guarantee you of that. And I think ultimately I decided not to use it. Maybe not.
Little deliberation.
Little deliberation. Carlo's now going back through trying to find the cards he just shuffled into the deck.
It's in there somewhere. I just put it back.
I've got 3 of these. Where are they?
Yep. And once he pulls it out, I go, no, you know what? I'm not going to disrupt that. Never mind. I'm just going to burn cards off instead.
Mm-hmm. It's early in the game.
It is, and this deck didn't have a lot of. I think it had a couple cards that were like maybe one of, so I really wasn't too worried about things burning off.
Mm-hmm. Because that's the worst part of mill, when you see all your cards just fly by.
Yeah.
Including the cards that would have gotten them back.
Yeah.
And say, Ray, is your deck running the prophecy? So if anything, he's actually giving you more cards to access.
No, I am not running the prophecy.
Oh.
I avoid the prophecies. I don't know why either. Every time I'm looking to build a deck, I hit the prophecies and I'm like, oh, I could reliably trigger this. I don't want to deal with the headache of trying to figure out exactly where this card sits and everything and getting it to trigger when I need it to. You know what? I'm just going to ignore this card now.
What's your experience with the prophecies been, Lee?
I tried it with a cheeky combo where I was using Deranged Diva and Lunatic, the Dangerous Inmate, combined with the Greatest Fear. So in their draw phase, immediately after they draw up, I would play my prophecy, then make them go insane and make them discard the 2 cards they just drew. So I just have them on complete lockdown.
That's crazy.
And then I use Hamu to get the Greatest Fears back.
That makes sense.
So it's particularly mean.
That is
sounds that way.
mean.
I'm already cringing.
I have ideas now.
Oh, jeez. See, so this is sort of a meeting of the brain trusts. Lee in a chat room are people I will keep in contact with to see what they're thinking about for decks in their areas. And I've sort of been keeping them separate from you and Rod and Carlo, but now you guys are coming together.
Yeah. That's bad for you.
I feel it's bad for me.
You also have to keep in mind I'm still suffering from I don't have all the cards syndrome, so I'm getting closer. Slowly but surely I'm getting closer. So Bedlam Boys has come down. They are from the Greater Good expansion, and whenever they have a response after a character I control goes insane, I can draw 1 card, limit once per phase, because otherwise that would be a little insane. And the Keeper of Dreams also came down, and it's a villainous creature monster. I love the fact that it's a creature monster. And you can exhaust him to choose a character, and that character loses willpower until the end of phase, unless its controller discards 1 card at random from the hand. There's only 1 of them in the deck, and it was just kind of a, maybe I'll run into willpower during all of this. And I did, but he didn't come out when I ran into willpower. So.
Right.
It's always the way. You pack the answer for something and it never turns up, and otherwise he turns up when you're just like, at least it's a body.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it was. It was like, oh, well, at least it's something out there.
And I will also point out for our keen-eyed viewers that Ray forgot to make them go to sleep because of the 70 steps.
Yes, I did.
It all evens out in the end. One hopes. Oh, and there's Terrors in the Dark, the fancy full frame version.
Yes. Carlo does like his full frame art.
Yeah. I'm coming to appreciate it more. Although I still feel it makes it difficult to actually play the game sometimes. And now Carlos just threw down the Plague Stone, which is remove all the characters, or destroy all the characters in play after paying 2. So it's the Wrath of God effect for anybody from a Magic background. And it's one of those cards that just always shows up in some players' decks. And I will cop to being one of those players.
Yeah, and I've recently built a couple decks of the Plague Stone in it, and I really enjoy using it. I do like the concept of the Savio Plague Stone concept.
Mm-hmm. And now you've pushed away the Hermetic Scholar from that story he's going after.
Yes.
Cavern of Flame now in effect, doing
Yeah.
its job.
I'm remembering to use it now.
Oh, and there goes the story. It's the second
Right.
dragon. So Carlo gets to decide whether or not he's going to have both players search for non-unique characters to put into play.
And you're going to see in a second here, Carlo decides to trigger it, but he had misread the story. And we're actually going to step back because I was really surprised he was triggering it. I'm like, yeah, Bedlam Boys, card draw all over the place. But he was going to go grab his Yithian Scouts with it, but he didn't realize that you had to target a card that was already in play.
Right. Yep. He loves his Yithian Scouts.
In a mill deck, who doesn't?
The person playing against the mill deck?
Fair enough.
And so I bet you were disappointed not to go, yeah, I'll have a guy go insane 3 cards, please. Thank you very much.
Yes, exactly. I was like, yeah, I'll just drive my Diva insane. Oh, nothing of yours can go insane because of Savio? Oh, who cares? I just drove a character insane. Yay!
And that happened a lot. I presume that happened for most of the game where he just didn't have insanity eligible characters.
Yeah, and in this case, it's because of Savio. And I couldn't get out the Enchanted Wood, which is the card that keeps that from happening. It negates the terror icons when it comes to driving things insane. So
you packed 4 and it just didn't show up.
Yeah, I had full 3 and it just wasn't showing up. And it's a Dreamland support card. I mean, you have to have more Dreamland support cards for it to work than any other player, but I'm definitely running the full Dreamland support.
Right.
And say, do you have much Dreamlands actions from other players locally, or is it at the moment just yourself being king of the Dreamlands?
It's pretty much me being no, it really is me being king of the Dreamlands. Nobody else plays Dreamlands.
Mm-hmm. It's I mean, we all picked up the cycle at the same time, and I think it was that flush of new material for a lot of the people who did.
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen it come into play yet as a Dreamlands deck or a Dreamer deck.
Right. And in all fairness, the Dreamland support cards, really the best ones are in Hastur. So, and since I'm the only person who dares play, the king in yellow. Scotophobia. Everybody's losing their terror icons for a turn.
But unfortunately, it's only printed terror icons.
Yes. Which I think we're probably about to play wrong.
Yeah. Live and learn.
This is where Lee's just like, yep, you guys played this wrong. Yep, you guys played this wrong. Yep, you guys played this wrong.
He got to peek ahead, so just to compensate for the VOIP interface.
Gotcha.
Oh, that card.
Yes, that is the Song of Suffering, which is better than Sedated. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it does seem weird they made that after making Sedated, because they just made Sedated pointless.
Yes, they really did make Sedated pointless.
Because that's a 0 to play, right?
Yeah, 0 to play. I mean, it is technically, you have to have 1 Hastur thing, but Sedated's 1, so it doesn't really matter. And this, I can bounce around and move around. And
Yep. I was very saddened when that hit Nug in the previous episode of Decked.
Yes, where we misplayed it because...
Yep. Another good catch by Lee, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Lee, for pointing out all the times I've done stuff wrong.
I like to think of it as being helpful. Unfortunately, it's just, I can't travel back in time to fix things.
But there's no better way to remember than that little flush of, oh, I did that wrong.
Yeah. That's all right. I think I just illegally took control of Savio, so...
Was it illegal? Oh, because it's a non-night effect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually being very good about not doing... Not that it mattered, because in the end, he just popped the Plague Stone.
Yep. And he's throwing Savio away.
He is throwing Savio away, but there's no conspiracy in place, so he doesn't have the
good point.
Immunity.
Oh, so that means that you could steal it with him Infernal.
This is a good point. Yes, I could have.
Okay.
All right. So I didn't play it wrong, but it didn't matter anyways because he was popping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you briefly had a Savio before he went, no, I'm not losing Savio.
Yeah. That was, and that's kind of how I looked at what was going to happen. It was going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to grab Savio, and my guys are all going to gain terror icons, and then I won't be able to drive the Diva insane anymore, and...
I find often when I'm playing against Carlo, at least, I just have to make him do the thing he's going to do.
Right.
Otherwise, because at least then he's expending resources.
There's that.
It's just a question of pushing him to that point. And that by the way, everybody, that he just played is the Large Man. The Large Man is a 4 cost, which is a big drop in this particular matchup. And after a player succeeds at a story, that player must discard 2 cards from the top of their deck. That's a forced response. And then the controller can exhaust the Large Man to put the topmost event card in their discard back into their hand. So that's a nice bit of recycling for him.
I was totally not expecting a Large Man. I mean, you could see me leaning over to read the card there because I was like, I have no idea what this card does.
I think you were impressed by his fez.
I was. I'm always impressed by that gigantic fez now when I see the artwork.
What I don't understand is how he can be shorn but patient, but with a ponytail.
Well, he's mostly shorn.
Apparently. Oh, and now Carlos just thrown down the Ritual of Belifar, which will mill cards based on the number of resources on a domain.
Remember way back when I built a mill deck out of your cards?
I do. It worked really well.
It did.
And you just canceled that effect with Holly's Directive.
I did just cancel the effect with Holly's Directive. We're going to drive large fezzes insane.
I do love Halley's Directive. I've used that when I use that on people, and they were like, "Oh, so not only do I get stopped, but I go mad for it." Yeah. Oh.
Exactly. It's like, oh, that was like a double ouch.
Yeah, it's very satisfying.
Yeah, and you go, "How much does it cost?" 1. What do you mean 1?
I find that a very fair price.
This is where Carlo was confusing me because of the way he did this initially. Because when he was putting everything down, he paid for the Blackmore estate with the one that has 5 on it, and then proceeded to put the 3 down to mill the cards. And he meant to do it the other way, and I let him go with it just because I was like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
He obviously meant to do it this way, but
yeah, Blackmore Estate is like the key mill support card, or at least one of the originals.
Yeah,
because it's just pay X, mill that many cards, and exhaust. I know he's been debating whether or not to keep it in, and I was like, no, that's a key support card. You should hang on to that one. But I feel like he's moving as he sees other people play similar effects. He's like, oh no, I gotta have like Curse of the Putrid Husk. Is that it? Curse of the Stone?
Curse of Stone, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Lee, you were talking about Putrid Husk removing keywords, right?
Yeah, Putrid Husk for I was looking at Putrid Husk for taking off Fated from B. Ramsdale Brown, for example, so you can just keep getting cards out of your discard pile.
Right. He just piles up success tokens until someone destroys that curse.
See, I really want to do that with. I'm a huge fan of August Lundquist and his whole wound somebody else when he would be wounded thing.
There's been a lot of interesting conversation about that online about what's happening.
Time. I was putting out time.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting conversation about when August can and cannot do that. Just in terms of like when wounding is a cost, things like that. So Carlo is forever accelerating the milling effect here, now using the Supernal Prism to cause both players to discard their hands and then draw 5, which when your deck's been significantly debilitated.
Down to 1.
Yeah.
And so that's how the game ends. Trying to draw a card when you can't. Ray, do you have any closing thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I shouldn't build decks in 20 minutes before I start tournaments.
Lee, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We'll hope to have you back someday.
Well, even if I'm not on, I'll always be watching.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great.
One of our best watchers. We can't cannibalize you. So for the folks who want to find out more, you should visit youtube.com/deckshow, where you can find lots more videos and find out more about how to get in touch with us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.